Chair yoga for dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is one of the most common forms of dementia, but not all of dementia is Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease accounts for 50 to 80% of dementia cases. Many people have trouble with memory, and as a chair yoga instructor, if you start teaching chair yoga for seniors or at assisted living homes or even at libraries and community centers where there's many seniors, there may be situations where you notice your students' memory loss or they let you know. But that does not mean that they have Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease unfortunately worsens over time and is the sixth leading cause of death in the United States. At the current time, there is no treatment. There is one or so medications that possibly slow memory loss, but there is no treatment specifically or in terms of a cure for the disease as of now. But there is research being done and some studies done to show the benefits of yoga and meditation, exercise, and perhaps a healthy plant-based diet. In fact, just today, while I'm making this module, a chair yoga student in my chair yoga for senior class brought me a copy of Discover magazine, December 2018, with the title Alzheimer's Under Attack. Subtitle, Armed with Big Data, Researchers Turn to Customized Lifestyle Changes to Fight the Disease. A new treatment for Alzheimer's, it starts with lifestyle. This article goes on to suggest that diet, exercise, sleep, leisure activity, social engagement, and mental activity are all the lifestyle factors that could perhaps fight the disease. If nothing else, chair yoga classes for those with Alzheimer's and dementia or yoga practices and meditation can bring a sense of peace and more calm. If you've been following this training in order of modules, in the earlier modules on philosophy and others, we talked about the 5 points of yoga, which sounds familiar to exactly what the lifestyle changes are suggesting can perhaps prevent or maybe reverse or slow Alzheimer's, including exercise, stress reduction and relaxation, proper diet with plant-based, low on sugar, processed foods, and low on animal proteins, if any. And it parallels exactly to yogic lifestyle, which for thousands of years the yogis have been suggesting is the optimal way to live in harmony with the food you eat, proper exercise. The yogis suggest meditation. In modern day, they call it stress reduction, which can perhaps lower the inflammation response in the body. And we know that stress is one of the major indicators that can make diseases perhaps progress faster than would otherwise. So this is where yoga can help. Yoga postures and practices also perhaps keep the brain stimulated. Some of the movements in chair yoga I specifically teach can help with the right and left side of body in connecting the brain to the body. It's basic healthy eating in harmony with the animals in the earth, meaning not eating any animal products or animal proteins, moving the physical body for exercise, and stimulating the brain by meditation as well as stress reduction techniques can actually perhaps prevent disease. The Yoga Sutras has a verse that says, yoga prevents the sufferings which are to come. But again, even if this is not all proven yet, until science has more on this topic, we know that the chair yoga can bring not only more peace and circulation and energy in the body, flexibility, perhaps easing physical pains, but I know for sure it brings a sense of community when people come together, even living in an assisted living home, to sit in a circle and join an activity where everyone can feel they are participating and being around people and feeling joy and doing their best to follow the instructions. So it's for sure in the short term helpful during the class. In the long term, we hope it helps as well, but until we get more research, we'll have to continue to practice and teach to at least help people temporarily. If it does not cure the disease, it can for sure bring better quality of life during it for both the patient as well as the family and caregiver. Quite disconcerting and perhaps unsettling when you're first starting to watch your memory fade or noticing confusion and starting to lose your independence. In fact, there was a study done based on the Kirtan Kriya study, which I'll talk about later, that showed that yoga can actually be better than crossword puzzles for preventing and helping those with pre-Alzheimer's. In fact, just this week, as I'm making this module for you all, I just taught stress management for the first week of a new study being done about seeing if basically yoga lifestyle in a nutshell, meaning yoga exercises and meditation called stress reduction as well, a vegan plant-based diet with no animal products, exercise, and support can in fact slow or reverse Alzheimer's. The results won't be out for some time because the research study just started, but it is hopeful to know that even if there is no cure in Western medicine, a preventative lifestyle based on yoga may perhaps be helpful. If not to reverse the disease, which will find results later on, but at least to perhaps prevent or slow symptoms. For teaching chair yoga for Alzheimer's and dementia care homes, where everyone specifically in that class has dementia or Alzheimer's, you will basically be teaching a chair yoga class as the postures we've learned. However, many may be in wheelchairs or some, so you may want to teach a class all seated. There's different stages to Alzheimer's disease, and not everyone ends up or is in a wheelchair. It's good to move the physical body like everyone benefits for all ages, for the joints, to improve circulation, and it's also specifically good for the brain for the mind-body connection. However, if you're teaching in an Alzheimer's and dementia home and the majority of students are in a wheelchair, you may choose to teach the whole class seated so that everyone can join together. These are photos of a private assisted living homes where I taught, and some were in recliner chairs. I invited the caregivers to join. Some were sitting, some participated, some did their best, but it was very beneficial for everyone to be in community and to do their best to move their bodies and keep active. Knowing that patients with Alzheimer's disease or severe dementia may not be remembering any directions you've given, even if it was a few minutes before, I feel it is best from my experience starting chair yoga and teaching at several Alzheimer's and dementia homes and teaching chair yoga for many years with people with dementia and Alzheimer's. I find it useful to not give wordy explanations or talk about what you're going to teach ahead of what you're doing. Meaning, just begin the movement and start the pose and perhaps reach your arms up and inhale and suggest everyone join in with you. That way there's no pressure or concern or confusion that you're stating a direction or explaining what you're going to do, which is in the future. Even a minute or 5 minutes from when you explain the direction for someone with Alzheimer's may be forgotten 1 or even 5 minutes later. So stay present in the moment and do the movements as you are teaching and see if they are leading and following. Even just attempts to lead and follow the movements and for people to do their best to try to physically move the body with the teacher could be useful as well. Know that there could also be issues perhaps associated with hearing. Maybe it's your directions. Perhaps it's someone has a visual impairment. So it's not always the case that they're not able to follow direction. There could be other factors. In Alzheimer's and dementia care home classes, and many homes do not have chair yoga yet but would benefit. So I do hope some of you or many of you will go out to your local community and begin teaching chair yoga in these settings. You might find that there's partners, spouses, children, and they may be joining the class. You may not know in the class who's living in the home and who is visiting that day as a spouse or child, because you may show up and they have already been there and everyone may be sitting in the classroom or in the circle setting. So my other suggestion is not to assume that everyone in the class has Alzheimer's or dementia. I find it very useful for family members and caregivers to join in with their loved one or with their patient if they're a caregiver, because it's useful for everyone. Even caregivers in assisted living homes or Alzheimer's homes may be helping to wheel in a wheelchair their patients to the dining hall and carrying them in and out of bed. And they may find the chair yoga useful as a caregiver for their own backs and bodies to sustain and be able to help people longer. For children and family and spouses of those with Alzheimer's and dementia, it is very stressful and perhaps overwhelming at times to see their loved one decline or lose memory. So if they are there and you're able to, you might want to invite them to join the class. Not only is it an activity they can do with their loved one, but it's useful for them, for their own stress level, and then they'll be a better caregiver for their loved one if they're doing their yoga and stress reduction practice as well. I'm very happy to provide tips as you go along teaching on your journey. So this is just an introduction lecture, but feel free to connect with me on our private Facebook group on facebook.com/yoga and chairs under our chair yoga teacher training private group, where you can ask questions. You can also email me. This is an area that there has not been tons of work or written work about teaching yoga to those with Alzheimer's and dementia. But many years ago, when I started teaching my teacher trainings, I started this in a chapter in a segment of my in-person trainings, because I started teaching yoga for Alzheimer's patients and in the homes, and I myself couldn't find much info on how to teach or specific techniques. So I had to learn on my own as I went along. So I am here to support your journey so that you can help others. It might be your grandmother or your parent that you just want to share when you visit some seated chair yoga sun salutations. Or it might be a formal weekly class as a volunteer or paid at an assisted living home or a dementia care home. This work is greatly needed in the world, and even if you're not drawn to teach specifically at Alzheimer's homes or those with dementia, do know that if you're teaching a chair yoga class in your local community, if it's not specified for the age, or if you're specifically teaching chair yoga for seniors or chair yoga in assisted living home, it is very likely that at least some of the participants will have some form of memory loss or dementia, if not Alzheimer's. There is one study that actually has proven that you can slow memory loss for early stage Alzheimer's from a specific Kundalini yoga exercise called Kirtan Kriya. It involves a hand movement with a mantra repeated out loud, then whispering, and then double the time silent, then back to a whisper, and then out loud. I have a video in this module just on that exercise. The Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation did this study, and it was published in the Alzheimer's Journal of Medicine. Because it was so beneficial, I teach that to most of my senior chair yoga classes where there's seniors, whether they have dementia or not, because it's also a wonderful hand posture movement and meditation that can give you clarity or improve your ability to concentrate. AlzheimersPrevention.org is their website to learn more about their study. But their study showed with SPECT scans using single photon emission computerized tomography that the subjects actually of the scans who took scans before and after performing this mind-body exercise Kirtan Kriya showed that the activation of the frontal lobe and hippocampus along with their spiritual experience perhaps was activated, meaning their brain was being activated by the connection of the hand to finger gesture with the focusing on the sounds in the certain pattern. The yogis believe that focusing around the brow point as well, around the pituitary gland, stimulates the pituitary. This is one of the focal points during this exercise, along with a visualization of a light entering the top of head and out through the brow point with every ah sound. Sa, ta, na, ma. You'll practice it in the next video. This topic of Alzheimer's and dementia is a personal topic for me because I have family members currently and a grandparent who passed away from Alzheimer's. So I've been dedicated to helping support not only those with dementia and Alzheimer's and their loved ones, family, and caregivers, but for many years I've been dedicated to support instructing yoga teachers to begin this work because I've noticed that we need a lot more of chair yoga teachers to go into Alzheimer's and dementia homes specifically, or the caregivers themselves or activities director in the home can teach chair yoga as well, as long as it's offered. It's quite useful. In the marketing chapter, you'll learn a little bit more how to connect with the activities directors and begin these classes. But when you teach an Alzheimer's and dementia class, it could be a 30-minute class, a 60-minute class. It likely would be all seated, but does not have to be. But Kirtan Kriya Sata Nama exercise is quite useful. I started teaching a 3-minute version because I found it more practical than the 12-minute in the study when I was out in the settings teaching yoga. So I would often do it after the postures at the end of class. But they're universal sounds, sa, ta, na, ma, which don't have a religious context or deity association. So I did find it comfortable to teach in all settings. I also teach that in company classes because it also calms the mind, says Yogi Bhajan. Yogi Bhajan said it clears the clouds of the mind. So try it yourself after the video. Perhaps try it every day for a few weeks or longer. You can try the 12-minute version yourself and then see the experience, feel the experience, see how it affects your meditation and your day before teaching it. I'm here to support you in your journey of helping others with Alzheimer's and dementia. Thank you for your time in listening to this module and considering or going out to teach and help people and their partners or caregivers. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.